you want me to post it or no?
Something's up with YouTube. Hold on, you're live now.
Okay. Because I have it like literally right here. I don't know if you want me to put
Yeah, sure,
Oh,
of
it's
course,
fine?
yeah,
Okay.
of course. YouTube's giving me the business, but I think it should be okay.
Based Mrs. T.
Okay, hold
you know what?
on.
They canceled Aunt Jemima. Well, yeah, they got.
You're
handle?
live right now.
That's
We're
fine.
live right now. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine.
What's your handle?
Should be.
ARIELLE. Right there. They canceled Aunt Jemima and they canceled Mrs. What's his name?
Okay.
People want to say that I don't experience PMS symptoms, but I've been cramping incredibly bad all day, and at some point my pain tolerance went away, and it started hurting incredibly bad for the last 2 hours, so much so that it made me go and throw up 3 times. So yeah, PMS symptoms are ruining my Disney trip. Ruining my Disney trip.
Wow, Russell Brand has definitely seen better days. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Luke Radowski here of wearechange.org, and we have a jam-packed show for you here today, as of course we have a lot of incredible people who are going to be here with us for the next 2 hours, so make sure you share this URL with your friends and family members, as of course we are going to be doing a deep dive into the woke mind virus with a Mrs. T. Yes, we're going to be talking about that. We have Volodymyr Zelensky asking Donald Trump to come to Ukraine. We're going to be talking about Israel. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, all the latest news here on this independent media broadcast that you could actually be a part of by calling in through a video by being a member of LukeUnfiltered.com. So again, sign up to LukeUnfiltered.com, and then when you sign up, you of course get to log into our members area, and then when you do, you get a tutorial about how to participate in the group chat. In that group chat, we actually will be taking live callers where anyone could call in for the second half of this broadcast. That, of course, is going to be on rumble.com/wearechange, and not so family friendly as, of course, here on this particular platform on YouTube. For the first hour, we do have to be careful, especially with the guest that we have today, who is known for speaking her mind very well, but YouTube doesn't like that at all. So
sorry, not sorry.
You better be
Sorry,
sorry.
not sorry.
You better be sorry before we start here. So we've got a really fun broadcast available for everyone here. Any kind of super chat will be read as well. We also have set up mysuperchat.com, and it's a way for you to be involved in this conversation and only have a 3% service charge rather than, a 30% service charge on youtube.com. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that and all the comments, all the conversations that we are going to be having here for the next 2 hours with a very special guest. That special guest is Ariel. Ariel.
Hi.
Who are you?
I am the OG YouTube lesbian. Can we say lesbian now, or is that hate speech?
We're canceled. We're done. Show's over. Can't believe Ariel.
You can't even say anything these days. You can't even say lesbian.
I think the politically correct term is carpet muncher.
Carpet muncher.
Yes. So I think that's what the YouTube people, right? Clint,
I mean, they're both safe
they
words.
prefer that.
Yes. So Ariel, thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a really fun conversation because the things that you get into, we definitely can't talk about on YouTube. Joining us for this episode is also Clint Russell of the Liberty Lockdown Podcast. Clint, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. I am the OG straight of YouTube, if you will. I will actually be guest hosting for Alex Jones on InfoWars this Tuesday with...
You said 2 other words. They're going to get us banned now.
I can't say
you
that?
can't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm fine. I mean, we're done. We're like canceled already. It's
Already?
okay. No.
Oh my goodness! All right. Well, then on a show that I can't say.
You could intimidate the voice of. You could say, I'm going to be on this.
They're turning the freaking frogs, guys.
Yes. We're so getting canceled.
It's already over. We're like 3 minutes in. How did this happen?
Clint, you could say, I'm going to be on a talk show that talks about frogs choosing to intermingle with fellow male frogs in a very copious FBI-loving way. I think that's a safe...
Yes, I'll be doing that with Professor Peter St. Onge. It'll be a really fun episode. I hope you guys will check that out. But let's get into the show. Steph, what's up?
Hi, everyone. My name is Steph. You can find me at Steph We Are Change. Excited to get to know you and have this conversation. Let's go.
So the first video that I have lined up is a lady that I personally deemed Mrs. T, because she literally has the Mr. T kind of
mohawk and everything.
Frohawk? Is it a frohawk or mohawk?
Yeah,
like
90s
a
frohawk.
frohawk, and
yeah.
she kind of when being interviewed randomly on the streets, just kind of went after this larger kind of socialism indoctrination or this kind of woke theory that a lot of people like to prophesize, that the BlackRock and Goldman Sachs likes to, of course, push on everyone, that Disney and Hollywood love to, of course, shove down everyone's eyeballs. And her video recently went viral, and I think it's worth talking about. So we're just going to play this video without any kind of commentary beforehand, because it's definitely eye-opening, to say the least.
Very serious what's going on in America, because they are indoctrinating students. They're indoctrinating students to go against their parents. And this is Marxism. This is socialism. I'm very familiar with it. And I want everybody to educate themselves. They have taken positions in government. They have taken positions in schools to bring about their ideology, and it's very radical. It's extreme radicalism. I'll give you an example, because I'm black. One way they can spread this indoctrination is they'll say, well, that's anti-black, or you're being racist. But I know what Marxism is. I know what socialism is, and they will hide it under a guise. Well, we're going to teach first graders about sex, and we're going to do this because this is about equal rights. But it's not about equal rights. Socialist Marxism, they'll see it's right here on these universities, and they started in the private schools, and now they're going to the charter schools, and they're going to the public schools, and they're teaching, like in socialist countries, to be spies, so we spy on each other. Don't tell your parents. Trust the teachers. Don't trust your parents. Your parents have to take...
Lady T definitely spoke a lot of truth to power there, as of course that video literally went viral, already shared with millions and millions of individuals. As I think it's fair to say everything she said was pretty much right on the money. What do you guys think?
Yeah, as the gays would say, we love to see it. We love to see it, because we love seeing somebody that's empowered, that's a minority, that's usually entrapped with wokeness, that has broken free of that, or hopefully was never a part of that. And that goes viral for it. We love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of shows that. Shout out to James Lindsay, who's been doing a lot of great work in educating people about this. I'm not saying that's where she got it, but it just seems as if more and more people. When I saw that video, I was like, just don't judge a book by its cover. That was my takeaway, because you would have never expected that from her, but she laid it out perfectly. I think that's exactly what we've seen, the long march through the institutions of the, kind of Marxist revolutionaries.
Because if you would have met her on the street, you would have been like, oh, this person's woke. This person's crazy.
Probably.
This person probably is going to be side-eyeing me or trying to get me canceled or trying to do all these horrible things.
But she doesn't have the two main factors, right? The two main giveaways. The nose ring. She doesn't have a nose ring. She's got big earrings like me.
She got the hoop earrings.
She got the big hoop earrings. That's a New Yorker thing, or just a black people or a Puerto Rican Italian thing. And she doesn't have colored hair. She has a cool hairstyle, but it's not colored.
Hotep Jesus had a very interesting commentary to this, saying, quote, socialism hides between the guise of equal rights. Black people are its cloak. Spread the word. And I think he definitely made a lot of sense there. But when she was talking, I automatically started to think of Yuri Bezmenov, of course, the KGB defector that was interviewed by G. Edward Griffin many, many decades ago. I think 60 years ago now. I think this was in the 1970s. So 60 years ago, he talked about fifth generational warfare and how essentially a lot of the Marxists, a lot of the larger individuals who love top-down control would infiltrate major institutions of power and then propagate their larger ideas. And I think when you look at, the establishment, when you look at the entertainment industry, when you look at the education industry, it's all essentially pushing this kind of ideology that I think a lot of people are saying, I'm sick of this. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to listen to this. This is already coming to a point where I'm just sick of hearing from it personally myself.
Yeah. It's weird that it took all the way until there started to be sexualization of children for people to go like, hey, this is kind of messed up. Like, like you didn't figure that out a couple of years before they started telling your kids that stuff. That's what frustrates me is like for those that have been kind of awakened as opposed to woke a few years ago. It's just frustrating that it's taking so long, but I'm glad to see the progress.
Yeah, I was going to add to that and say most movements, people start realizing when there's a problem when they come for the women and the children.
Right.
And the woke have come for both of those things.
Yep.
Remember the viral video that went viral? What was it, like a year ago? We're coming for your kids, whatever.
Oh, yeah,
the gay men's chorus. I'm like, I know it was obviously a joke.
Right. That song slapped, if I'm being honest.
It was good, but like, no.
Of course, Clint,
You know what I mean?
Clint, you would really like that song. Of course you do.
No, but like, yeah. But that just made us look even worse because people, they obviously did it as a joke, and they did it as like, haha, you think we're like this, so we're gonna push it in your face that we're like this, even though we're not. Because a lot of us, most of us are not, right? It's just this very small fraction of the community.
Do you look at it as a community?
Not anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not anymore. I just say it for people to understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
There was really never a community. It's like none of us even gays and lesbians don't even get along most of the time.
Well,
like I don't hang out. I hang out with like 2 gay friends.
Yeah,
aren't they the
like
same thing though? Aren't they all
We don't
gay?
even have.
You guys are all gay.
We have like nothing. But it's not even the same sex. Like we have nothing in common. At least with like straight guys, they can talk about girls.
Yeah.
Gay guys, they can talk about.
You and
with
I
girls.
have more common than you do with a gay dude.
Literally.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Steph, did you have something to say? You looked like you were about to say something. No.
No.
Okay, no worries. But the damage that has been done, because it's not just the chorus, the choir that was thinking about, your kids or our kids. We've seen a lot of this with a lot of teachers, a lot of kind of propagandists, a lot of influencers, and even at major rallies, people chanting and screaming, hey, and politicians as well saying, hey, these are not your kids, these are our kids. Joe Biden made a very similar statement.
Okay.
And with the way that children have been raised now, especially being indoctrinated to a lot of this craziness and a lot of this nonsense, especially with so many of them being over-sexualized, so many of them just being thrown online where they have a lot of debaucherous kind of social media activity, where they have a lot of adult content that kind of warps their mind. Is there any going back to trying to help civilization? Because I think the biggest victim, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Ariel, of this woke mind virus is essentially a larger depopulation agenda that de-incentivizes individuals from having healthy, cohesive relationships, including families.
100%. I might go off topic a little bit here.
No, go right ahead.
Yeah, but I was just talking to my friend at brunch about this. We were talking about how because the communities are no longer communities and they've become very much political identities, people have lost track, and I'm not a religious person, right? But people have lost track of things that really matter in their life, like a deeper purpose.
Right.
So they found this new purpose of wokeness, right? And it's become their religion. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in with every single thing that they do, you're outcast.
Excommunicated.
You're excommunicated, which is again a religious term, right? Back in the 1500s, what they used to do. I don't know, probably some countries they still do it.
Oh, for sure.
Like Iran, whatever. But it's definitely ruining
the world.
It's ruining the essence of what a community really is.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking about this just yesterday. I was thinking about how, like, when I was a kid or even into my 20s, there would still be some sort of influence from like the younger generation in the music scene. And I don't know if it's just because I'm getting old and maybe I'm just disconnected, but it does seem as if there's less and less like pop culture phenomenons that also reach up into the older generations, because like INSTANT and Backstreet Boys, like they became a big thing that, like, I remember my parents would listen to it sometimes, and it's like now it just seems as if we're all partitioned off into our own little subsector of pop culture. We all watch our own shows. There's just really nothing that binds us. We all have our own religions. We all have our own, sexualities. We're even making up new categories just to differentiate ourselves further. It just seems as if there's very little. We don't even agree on free speech or the right to protest. Like, there's so little that binds us together at this point. I just don't know, like, how you maintain a nation in light of that.
At least we have the latest events in the Middle East that have brought so many people together and have finally sown peace in the region and caused so much harmony, especially in our political discourse. So at least we have that, right, guys?
Man.
Good topic change.
No, we're not
not there yet?
We're not going to jump
okay.
there yet. As of course, there's also another lady who I think is the exact opposite of anti-woke Mrs. T. And this is a lady that is chastising someone because they were born in the wrong kind of skin. Let's play this video too, because I think this video is worth listening to when it comes to explaining the larger divide and conquer agenda out there. It's a little bit long, but we'll play only about a minute of it.
Moved by white tears. Most of us are moved by white tears because we don't actually think they're real. It's a performance. It's a switch that you turn on because you know that we have been socialized to see you as more human and of more value. So whatever it is you think and whatever it is you feel, we are supposed to respond to it. Y'all don't respond to Black women crying the same way. Nobody does. Nobody does. The minute a white woman cries, the world has to stop. Oh my God, what's wrong with you, baby? Black women cry, we could be rolling around on the ground screaming. And you are moved because you've been socialized not to see us as human beings. Fuck. Our tears don't matter to you, but a white woman, and y'all know that shit. That's why I'm not here for the fragility. You know that.
Hey, lady, you're gonna get us demonetized. What are you doing? And the kind of righteousness, the kind of self-entitledness, you could just see by the way that she's speaking that she loves to sniff her own farts. It's clear. it's very apparent, and just the aura of just self-righteousness. You could smell it. You could just see it on this video. The video, of course, continues where you have two of these. Probably white women on a lot of anti-depressant drugs, kind of nodding along in this stare, in this stupor.
And feeling like so inferior. That's what bothers me more than anything. It's not even the fact that that lady, the Black lady, was saying this nonsense. It's the fact that the white ladies are like, yes, queen. Yes, like, tell us how horrible we are. Right. Tell us that we're terrible. Like, not everybody is a terrible person. Like, you and I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Every type of skin tone, every type of nationality, every type of size. Like, we went to school with all these different types of people. Not everywhere in the world is like how this person is picturing it in her head.
Which is actually really sad. Like, to me, my first
way.
response to watching this, I was like, wow, it's really sad that this woman actually views the world and perceives the world in that sort of way, because I definitely wouldn't resonate with that kind of, even the white women. I'm like, what's up with you guys too? I feel like,
but it's this victimhood mentality. Like, you don't care about me. I do this and you don't react. But if they do it, you do. Like that kind of reality, that kind of perception, I think is also something that has been put into a lot of people's minds to not only create a victimhood mentality, but to create a mentality that, of course, is self-sabotaging. Because if you see everyone against you, if you see everyone hating you because of the way that you were born, including those white women and that Black woman, you automatically are putting yourself in a reticular activation syndrome.
See, I was right.
Exactly.
I was right. Look, everybody hates me. Well, everybody hates you because of the way you're acting now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not because of your skin color.
And to clarify,
because of your mouth.
To clarify, when I see a woman crying, it doesn't matter her skin tone.
Right.
I don't care. I don't care if a woman's crying because, no, I'm sorry.
That's how Clint's dates usually end. He's used to it.
That's how I know I had a good date. All right, no, look, she's really just drank deep of the victimhood mentality, and ultimately, what's odd about it is because she has this worldview that she's surrounded by hate, but because of that, she is filled with hate. And I think that's what disturbs me most, is that people that imbibe deep of this woke mind virus, they end up being very hateful people. And that doesn't bring us closer together. There's no healing to be found if you hate everyone and you assume that because I'm white, I don't care that you're crying because you're Black. It's an absurdity.
Yeah. You get hated on, so you respond with hate. And again, most of these people don't even get hated on in the beginning, which they need to realize. You had something to say, Steph?
No, I said it.
I think she lost it.
No. I heard.
We cut
I heard
her
a
off
noise.
and she lost it. She lost it.
I
It's
cut you
okay.
off, but it's okay. People want to hear more from you, Steph.
Do they?
But
I'm busy on the buttons over
She's-
here.
Talk it out, girl.
But no, when you look at this video, when you look at this kind of stare from these like white women who are just kind of sitting there awkwardly and like looking down and nodding in approval, you could just see either it's sadomasochism or they just love to be intellectually like dominated and destroyed and just to feel absolutely pathetic, because that's essentially what they're being okay with. And for in my opinion, let's just be real here, for them not even to speak out against this nonsense is racist in itself. How can you go on and be like, yes, queen, totally right. And then if you dare to even counter a lot of this self-victimization, a lot of this nonsense, a lot of this hyperbolic dribble, a lot of this sensationalistic nonsense, you're called the racist. But in reality, you're trying to be like, hey, you're actually in charge of your life. Your thoughts matter more than you think. And if you're going in life thinking you're the perpetual victim all the time, you're going
keep
to be
attracting that.
Exactly.
Yep.
And energetically, you're bringing that more and more into your life by denying yourself opportunities, by denying yourself connections, by denying yourself a life that is worth living, because it's a life filled with hate. And that's I think the main product of this woke mind virus is this divide and conquer. It's this hatred. It's this identity of I suck, I'm bad. When in reality, I think that's deliberately put in a lot of people's head to self-sabotage them and to destroy them. And if you look at, if you were really a racist, if you really hated people, you would teach them that predominantly, and they would destroy themselves, and you would be happy that they did.
Yeah. Well,
but the opposite is true when it comes to our discourse. You call a lot of this bull crap out, you're the racist.
You want to put them in their place so they can grow as people. And that's treating somebody as an actual human being that you see being worthy of importance.
Yeah, well, because
they have a voice.
Or in New York, you used to bust each other's balls. You bust each other's balls, you respect somebody.
100%.
You're actually getting along with somebody because they're not ishing you. They're not lying to you. They're not trying to pretend like there's some snobby, blue armpit-haired, flip-flop wearing, Starbucks drinking, San Francisco, Californian yuppie who, of course, is going to go out of his way to pretend like they're somebody that they're not. So I think South Park, their larger representation of people from California sniffing their own farts. I recently watched that video, so that's why
you keep saying
I'm
it?
on this
fart sniffing.
this thought loop. They had a great episode where everyone in, I think it was either Colorado or in California, was just sniffing each other's farts to the point where the world ended. They also did a great episode on Hollywood and Disney, essentially changing every character to a black lesbian, which I thought was also really ingenious and absolutely incredible.
Accurate.
I don't know if you guys saw that one.
I didn't, but it sounds like something Disney would do.
You need to watch that South Park episode. It is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely hilarious.
I've seen the old one that's the fart sniffing. I think everyone's driving a Prius or
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing episodes. But I just want to emphasize that, like, if you actually perceive all black people to be victims, you're actually a racist.
Literally.
You're definitely a racist at that point. I'm not going to say you're as bad of a racist as someone that perceives them to be lesser because of their skin color and like you actually hate them in that way. That I would say that's a worse version of racism, but it's racist nonetheless. I think the only way that, like, it's bizarre that I have to argue in favor of Martin Luther King's version of the future that I want to see in the world, where we try and get past our skin deep differences. It's an absurdity that we're still doing this. Like, we were making so much good progress, and now we're just reverting back to, like, everyone's a victim and everyone's an oppressor based off of their skin color. It sucks.
It's ridiculous. It's an attitude that, of course, I think was mainly propagated after Occupy Wall Street, where the corporate media colluded together and said, no, we're going to talk about race all the time. We're going to talk about how bad white people are all the time. We're going to talk about a larger narrative that essentially has destroyed race relations and has destroyed a kind of cohesive neighborhood that there used to be some kind of semblance of. It used to be, hey, I'm American. Hey, we're all living here in this community. But now I think it's fair to say the more that we have this kind of pushed in our discourse, discourse, the more we see each other as people who are different. And some people say, yeah, that's exactly what we should be doing. Some people argue that's not what we should be doing. But I think the main crime that has been committed here is that you can't even laugh about these things. We can't even laugh about our differences. And when we used to be able to get along more. And now they're attacking comedians, they're attacking satire, they're attacking any kind of voice out there who dares to even poke fun at someone else or themselves. And that is now a cancelable effect, which I think failed, especially when it comes to the latest actions with what happened with Dave Chappelle, who, of course, was not able to be canceled after, of course, his latest actions. Steph, what are you doing? Steph, the camera works. It's fine. Yes, it works. Steph's trying to change out the batteries.
It did make a noise.
Yeah,
it made a noise.
You're fine.
I was getting cues.
No, you're not getting cues.
It made a noise.
Yeah,
It did.
you're
Something
fine.
happened over there. Okay.
No,
It does that all the time.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It's focusing more on y'all.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I just cannot stand this perspective on life. I really do feel like it's taking us backwards, which is ironic once again because it's led by the progressives as they regress us. It's very frustrating. You may disagree with this. I'd love to hear what you think, actually, but it does seem, as he was describing it, like when men bond, we it's called taking the piss out of each other. Like we base on each other, we talk smack. Like that's just how you kind of like get to know somebody. Is that a thing in like
With women?
Female dynamics, or is it more respectful?
Depends on what kind of friends you have.
True.
For my,
You're
my
from
friends,
New York, so this isn't gonna.
my
I can't
friends and
ask
I,
you.
no matter what your sex, like we mess with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I
it's just how it
I
is.
find women are a little bit more, again, this is a generalized statement, but a little bit more superficial, a little bit more like, oh, you're gorgeous, you're 10, honey, don't worry.
Right.
If he doesn't, if he's not okay with you at your worst, he doesn't deserve you at your best. And I'm like, shut up, like that doesn't, and I think that kind of gaslighting, that kind of fakeness, perpetrates a lot of people to be not genuine, to be not good people. And that's just kind of my perspective on how I see it. It's not always the case because you have different people from different backgrounds and different perspectives. Some people will just let you know exactly how they feel about you, and I love those people. This is why I particularly love the French. There's two types of people, in my opinion: the people who love the British and people who love the French. I don't like the British, not just because of their teeth, not just because of their pompousness, not just because they always have their nose up and their pinky up, not just because of their fakeness, but they always keep telling you, come over to tea, we'll get some tea. They don't want to grab tea with you. They don't care about you. They just tell you this to be nice. The French people will tell you off. They'll let you know they hate you right away. And I'm like, I like those people a lot more because I know what they're coming from.
That's the difference between a person from LA and from New York City.
Exactly.
You ever hear this? You ever hear this saying like people from LA are nice but not kind. People from New York are kind but not nice.
Exactly.
Like
Very
if
good
if you get your car breaks down on a freeway in LA. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Okay, gotta go. Bye. New York. What the hell's the matter with you? Don't you have a flat tire?
Watch where you're going, you dumbass.
What are you, dumbass?
Exactly.
What are you, stupid? I got you. Don't worry, I got you.
I got the best of
That's
both
a New
worlds.
Yorker.
I got the best of both worlds because I was born in San Diego, but I was raised by a New Yorker. So I like all of my friends actually like. If they didn't know me well, like when they first met me, they thought I was from New York because I was the only person that would actually talk like a New Yorker. I would take the piss out of all my friends, and they're like, "What is this? What we're supposed to
That
just go
means
surf
I
and
love
smoke
you.
weed, dude? Like, what
It
are you
means
doing?"
I love
I was
you.
like, "No. I'm gonna see who can like handle the storm, and then I'll know that we're homies for life." That's how it works. You gotta talk
Yes.
smack.
Yep.
Hey,
This
Ariel.
is why every time I see Luke, I arrive to the studio. He goes, "Look at you. You're getting fatter. You're so fat today." And I'm like,
He's a New Yorker.
I'm like, this is love. This is love.
Look at these fake New Yorkers. Right, Ariel?
What, him?
Yes.
Yeah, he's fake New Yorker.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever.
I can take anything pretty much at this point.
And
you
I-
have to when you get to this point in your career.
Especially if you're on social media, because if you're on social media, you're going to deal with some of the most craziest, some of the most insane people. And
Do you want to laugh at what happened?
Go ahead.
Today or yesterday, somebody, because I'm Italian, like I have a little mustache, you know what I mean? Like I gotta like waxing, like or like bleach it, you know what I'm saying? But
Me too, sister. Don't worry about it.
Like no, mine's not.
I'm still growing mine out.
Yeah, you're still growing yours out. But I gotta fix it. But so somebody didn't like what I had to say about some kind of issue yesterday, and they were some kind of a woke person, and they were like, "You need to wax your lip, Ariel." Blah 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 blah. And somebody's like, "Well," it was a TRANS person, and somebody was like, "We need to wax that dick off." Somebody like responded for me, and I was like, my audience has got my back.
Love it.
At this point.
A very, very, very good save here. As of course, we are still on YouTube, and we are going to be going over to Rumble in just a few minutes from now, and that conversation definitely is going to be a little bit more spicier than it is, and we're gonna see full Ariel. We're gonna holding
God.
back.
I am holding back like
Yes.
90% right now.
And you have to.
No idea.
And-
my
and-
head's getting red.
Yes, it's and there's other comments that are going to be made right now about something. I'm not even going to go there. We have some super chats that we're going to address right now. One is by Common Sense, who said Bardel do Curva. I know what the last one means. I don't know what the first one means, but thank you for that super chat, Common Sense. We got another one from Brian D, who says, I'm somewhat of a lesbian myself. Yes, Brian D, I bet
brother.
you are. And
I see you, Brian.
I think, that's something that a lot of people have in common with. Let me see if we have anything on mysuperchats.com, but no specific questions as of yet. There's also Rumble rants. I want to make sure that we have everything here lined up, as I want to move over to the next story, and that's talking about the latest crazy events in Ukraine. Anything else you guys want to say about what we just talked about? I do have one question to you guys, as I'm going to check all the super chats and all the comments. And that is specifically, is there any walking back this woke mind virus that essentially has destroyed the children's ability to have family members, that has uncovered so many young people to very adult explicit content that some people say is rotting their mind and destroying their brain? Is there any way to put this woke mind virus back and go back towards families, communities, traditionalism? Is that even a path worth taking?
I have a lot to say on this, but I'd love to hear your thoughts first.
I think yes. The answer is yes, because I have hope, and I'm always going to have hope. But I think we need more and more and more voices speaking out like Mrs. T.
Mm-hmm.
That's the T. That's
All right,
the only
there
way
you go.
that's going to happen, honestly. We need the people that they keep saying are the minority oppressed people to speak out, unfortunately. Like, that's how it has to be. Because if it's just a bunch of white people, they're not going to listen.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson isn't going to be able to.
No,
remedy
unfortunately.
that.
And he's brilliant, but like,
Yeah.
nobody's listening to him right now.
Clint's going to go in blackface now, right?
I would love to. It's actually
Right.
it's like my life dream is just to be able to do that all the time. But for some reason, it's considered racist. It's ridiculous. I love black people. What am I supposed to do? I want to dress up like Kobe. All right. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can unwind this, and fortunately, because the left eats their own, it's already happening. You're seeing more and more defectors from the left, the progressive worldview, because like I'm friends with Kim Iverson. There's a bunch of people on the left that I think have already seen the light on this and understand that it's taking them in a very regressive way, and they don't want that, and I don't want that either. I'm a libertarian. I'm not on the conservative right or anything like that, but I still think that family values are extraordinarily important, and I think more and more people are starting to homeschool. More and more people are starting to run for, school boards and things like that. They're trying to make sure that the curriculum, if you're unfortunate enough to put your child into public school, at least be involved enough to make sure that they're not having their brains broken. I think that's it's going to require not just that, but also getting your kid to put down the tablet and the cell phone and start to actually look after your child and rear your child, as opposed to expecting technology to do it for you. It just requires a lot more self-responsibility.
And that's why I am more black-pilled, because a lot of people don't have a lot of personal responsibility. True. And their children are being indoctrinated, not just in schools, but through cell phones, through TVs, through commercials, through advertisements, through movies. Almost every aspect of kind of social culture is pushing this kind of woke indoctrination, pushing a lot of these ideas that you have to be different, you have to change yourself and your reproductive organs in order to be okay, in order to get by, and you have to, of course, not be a straight white male in order to speak. And I think that's where I would just disagree, saying, hey, we need everyone to speak up, and I think the more of us that do, the better chance we have. But as far as the children coming up today, holy cow, they are dealing with a lot of very significant mental health problems that are only going to get worse. When you look at the levels of anxiety, the levels of self self-harm, the levels of individuals who have issues through, of course, some people say it's related directly to the gut. Some people say it's only mental. That number is going up dramatically. I think it's only going to go up from here, not just because of the poisoning in our environment, but the poisoning in our culture that is destroying and not prioritizing, family life, communities, and individuals being there for each other as communities and not seeing each other as different. So I think we're in a world of pain. I think the future is not bright.
Well, I agree with you in the short term. I think that more and more families and young couples are starting to really focus on. I mean, if you look at the homeschooling figures, they have skyrocketed over the past 3 years. Like, people are really waking up to this. Yes, a lot of that had to do with COVID, but a lot of that also has to do with people just realizing like the curriculum is horrific. Their kids are coming home, they're having suicidal ideation, they're depressed, they're anxious. Like,
it's another word you can't say on YouTube.
I think I can.
Self-harm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, apologies, YouTube lords.
Bow down now to the YouTube lords.
I apologize, YouTube lord. But I think that, yes, for some, it's like there's a bifurcation in our civilization where there's going to be more and more people that are taking more and more personal responsibility for their lives, and I think that their children and their offspring and their progeny from there on will be kind of like the victors of the next generation. And then those that are just relying on public school, you're going to have a really messed up kid that probably doesn't reproduce, and your bloodline ends.
And that's something that was really interesting to me as I was pondering this whole idea of what's going on right now in the public school and the education system overall. You know, as a woman and potentially a mother in the future, I'm like, what am I going to do if I ever have kids? Like, how am I ever going to make this happen at this point in life? You know, thinking about the system that we currently have, it's not like, I don't feel like I have any incentives to do that at this point, knowing that there's such like a huge mountain I have to climb of deprogramming any kid that I would potentially have in the future. And I'm thinking like homeschooling, like what you were saying, Clint. I was also thinking, okay, how can we, like, what are the solutions here? I feel like that would be a really interesting conversation, is just to put that, into perspective for everyone.
I think the interesting part of all of this is that most people aren't going to change or recognize that they have to change until they hit rock bottom. And that's in every situation in life.
Yeah, actually,
time.
that was something I was also feeling too, where it's like, right now with all of these issues that are coming to head, I feel like it's a time for the consciousness of where we are to actually like change and grow and look for new ways to change the system. So I feel like in some ways, although like all this seemingly turmoil in the state of the world, state of affairs right now seems kind of scary, if you look at it the other way, you don't have to be in fear about it. You can actually say like, wow, this is waking people up.
This is an opportunity. Yeah, it's a big opportunity for people. And we're like, the four people in this room, honestly, are a big part of the conversation. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I mean that in a way like, damn, like we have the opportunity and the potential to be like the beginning of a life-altering change for a lot of people that are watching this, or that can come across, right? And the good thing is those people, it's a snowball effect, right? Those people that are going to be watching, like I started talking about LGBT culture issues years ago, and now, Marcus, the offensive T word, I can't say the T word, but the offensive T word, he's on YouTube making amazing content now. Little by little, these people are finding us, and they're going to be the change.
Yep. I've received a ton of. I've only been doing Liberty Lockdown for 3 years. I've received countless DMs from people that are like, "You inspired me to start a business. You inspired me to, get married." Even though I'm not married, but still, just talking about these things. I think.
But the fact that you're grounded in your ideas is what that draws you to people. It's not the fact that you're married or not married. You know who you are.
Right. Yeah.
And you're strong-minded, and you have a very firm, sensible personality, and that's going to draw people into you because they're looking for stability.
Yeah,
honestly,
they're looking
people,
for sanity.
they stability and sanity like that.
But it's. I mean, I agree with Luke because the world is so messed up that they're coming to YouTubers and Rumblers to get life advice. I understand his perspective, but as an entrepreneurial person, as a business person, I look at this as a competitive advantage for my kids. When I have kids, they are going to crush everybody because I'm not going to allow them to go to public school. I'm going to homeschool them. I'm going to teach them about real economics. I'm going to actually put them who's going to be able to compete with these kids? These kids that get raised by an iPad or someone who actually has an attentive, 2-parent household. It's not even going to be close. So that's how I spin it positively, but I do understand the pessimism too.
I'm worried about the chemical castration, which we have to talk about on Rumble, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. As of course, I specifically want to ask you if Alex Jones is right or if nature is right. But I do want to get into the larger conversation of a lot of the chemical warfare that's being waged on particularly women and affecting children. But we're going to save that for the conversation on Rumble in just about 20 minutes. But I want to talk about a new kind of topic that we didn't get into yet, and that is another person who is a perpetual victim, and that, of course, is Volodymyr Zelensky. That NBC News is reporting the U.S. and the European Union is pushing to quietly do a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. As, of course, this news is not a surprise to anyone who has been paying attention. Not a surprise for the people who, of course, been telling you from the very beginning. There's not a big likelihood that Ukraine could win this war. And I did a full video about this on my main YouTube channel, youtube.com/wearechange, where you are probably watching, where I kind of talked about the larger writings on the wall and how essentially a whole generation of Ukrainians have been sacrificed for absolutely no reason at all other than to represent some kind of failed neoconservative policy. But today, Volodymyr Zelensky also came out and invited the former president of the United States to actually go to Ukraine himself in order to help negotiate this peace deal. Here's the video from Volodymyr himself.
Former President Trump said that about 24 hours that he can manage it and finish the war. For me, what can I say? So he's very welcome, first of all. President Biden was here and I think he understood some details which you can understand only being here. So I invite President Trump, if he can come here, I will need 24 minutes. Yes, 24 minutes, not more. Пояснити, yes, not more, 24 minutes to explain President Trump that he can't manage this war. He can't bring peace because of the Putin. But always we have if he's not trying and if he's not ready to give our territory for this terrible man, for the Putin.
So yeah, with those comments and especially the NBC News article that was quoting two anonymous government officials, I think it's fair to say that the Ukrainians definitely aren't in the best position to say the least now.
Well, I have a lot to say about this because I've spent the past year plus debating this conflict as a non-interventionist libertarian. I've debated Destiny on this. I've debated Vosh on this. I've debated countless other people on this. I just want to know, will any of these people actually look in the mirror after they advocated for this conflict? They said, you can't allow Russia to take land through invasion. You can't. That goes against the neoliberal world order. We can't allow it. Well, how many hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians are dead because of that perspective? When the Russians had offered a peace treaty both prior and 1 month into the war, and you guys said you laughed it off, couldn't possibly consider it. Now you have hundreds of thousands of young Ukrainian men, largely, that have passed away at an untimely and gruesome fashion for fuck all. Excuse me, I'll stop cussing, but it's very, very frustrating that once again the non-interventionist libertarian perspective is put out there, it's laughed off, and then a year and a half later it's proven to be accurate. It makes me sick. Ron Paul's been doing this for 40 years. I've been doing it for 5. When will you people listen to us and stop fighting these endless wars? It's
Former
heartbreaking.
President.
No, it's absolutely frustrating because, again, everyone saw this happening. There was absolutely no way, with the amount of resources, the history in the region, the mobilization that has happened, and now the Russians are preparing for their own kind of offensive. As the corporate media just a couple of weeks ago was talking about the great successes of the spring offensive that has garnered them very little territory in the south, and of course Russia has taken a little bit more territory in the northwest of that country as well, as now there is a massive troop movement from the Russians on the Ukrainian border, particularly around Bakhmut, that are going to be, of course, expanding their efforts in that region and probably taking more and more Ukrainian land. And with this happened, it does look like essentially Russia has built out their land bridge from, of course, the Donbass region all the way down to, of course, Odessa, where the conflict still there is waging. But, of course, this whole conflict pretty much is surrounding Crimea. So the Sevastopol naval base is essentially what this entire war is predominantly about in major circumstances. Of course, it's not completely the reason, but strategically for Russia, this is one of the main reasons that they have set up this kind of position that they are in right now, where probably, let's be honest here, let's talk about what probably is going to be happening here. Ukraine is probably going to have to concede a lot of land. They could have conceded a lot less land. They could have conceded almost very little to no land if they agreed on the original peace deal that was actually negotiated during the beginning of this conflict. But the United States, Boris Johnson, the Western world, the U.S. government got involved and said, you know what, you're not having any peace here. You're not going to have any kind of negotiations here. You're not even going to be able to come to the same table as Vladimir Putin. And now that situation absolutely reversed, and it's horrible and it's tragic. And so many people lost their lives when they didn't need to. They didn't need to lose their lives, and there's these horrible videos of just people getting conscripted, people getting stolen away from their families, people showing up at the hospitals. There's a video today of a man who was supposed to get some kind of medical procedure, and military recruiters came in and said, nope, you're going to the front lines, whether you like it or not, and literally took him away screaming. And seeing those videos and seeing those lives sacrificed, you kind of got to ask yourself, this is all done by a government for what? Why is the government doing this?
Well, and mind you, too, that the eastern portion of Ukraine, the majority of the people there speak Russian, or at least a huge percentage of them do. They've had referendums that said that they wanted to be a part of Russia. Antony Blinken was actually the person who conveyed the message to Boris Johnson to blow up that peace negotiation in the early days of the war. And now he has the audacity to go around talking about how we must stand with Israel as they destroy Palestine. I don't want these people to have any say over our geopolitical dynamics any longer. They have cost hundreds of thousands of innocent lives time and time again, year after year, decade after decade, and yet they still have the nerve to sit up there and lecture to us as if they have some sort of moral authority. They are scum of the earth. They genuinely evil people. And I don't say that often because I'm not even religious. But these are evil MFers, and I'll tell more about it on Rumble when I can speak freely.
Yeah, there's a meme that is being shared around today showing specifically 3 people in a pool, a mother representing the United States holding up Israel, having fun, and a Ukrainian child, of course, just sinking. And then down below is the U.S. citizen that, of course, is just a bunch of bones in the bottom of the ocean. And I think that's definitely a fair representation of what's happening here. And a lot of the Ukrainians, again, lost a huge amount of their citizens. And Cernovich has a very interesting tweet saying, with Ukrainians' finest men eliminated, the child traffickers begin to move in. As, of course, Ukraine is a place filled with a lot of corrupted bureaucrats, corrupted politicians. This is where they were even doing more gain-of-function research when it came to weaponizing viruses. And holy frickin' cow, you got to kind of ask yourself, it wasn't just the Americans that were participating in this. They were using the Ukrainian politicians, the Ukrainian bureaucrats who, of course, were siphoning off a lot of the aid money, a lot of the munitions, a lot of the support, a lot of the U.S. taxpaying dollars that were going to Ukraine were going through these politicians that were pocketing a lot of it. And I think this is why they allowed themselves to essentially sacrifice their entire country for their own personal benefit. And when you look at recorded human history, corrupted politicians always do this. They always sell out their own people. And if I'm Ukrainian, I would be absolutely pissed off today seeing this news with the United States saying now, hey, we have another conflict here potentially with Iran. You guys hurry up and end yours. That to me is essentially what's happening here.
And what's so brutal about it is, like, as Luke already said, it was primarily about the Sevastopol naval port. It was Crimea. Russia had a 50-year lease on Crimea. It was torn up after the coup, the Maidan rebellion in 2014. It was torn up the next month, and that's what laid the groundwork for this conflict to happen. That rebellion almost certainly doesn't happen or is not as successful if it's not for Antony Blinken and the scumbags in our State Department that allowed this to all happen. So it was provoked, it was avoidable, and ultimately it's a catastrophe. And it is at the feet of the Biden administration, first and foremost, as he was the vice president. He was doing all sorts of shady business deals over there, and it has led us to a absolute crisis for the people of Ukraine, and also a lot of Russian soldiers that I'm sure didn't want to be involved in this died too. It's just tragic.
That were also conscripted, that were also taken away from their loved ones, from their family members, and put on the front line. And essentially, the Russians don't have the best record starting wars, but when they get mobilized, when they start to, of course, use all of their natural resources, when they start to pull all their resources that they have together, they usually get going, and it's very hard to stop them. And I don't see any reason geopolitically why Russia right now will say, hey, we're in an advantageous situation. Why should we stop here?
That's my concern too. Here's the thing. I think that Putin always wanted the Donbass region or thereabouts to be an autonomous region because he wants a buffer to NATO. This has been their critique. This has been their issue all along, is that they didn't want NATO to encircle them. I know a lot of the pro-war people have tried to downplay that. It was called the reddest of red lines. That's what they said in the State Department leaked cables from WikiLeaks to Condoleezza Rice. I think they were telling the truth. It was the reddest of red lines, and they pushed them and they pushed them. So my opinion is he doesn't want all of Ukraine, because then that puts the border of Poland, which is also NATO territory, once again on his new border. I think he wants there to be an autonomous region in between, a buffer zone, and hopefully that means that the death and destruction will stop here. We'll see.
Well, Elon Musk, a couple of weeks ago, kind of posted his own kind of suggestion towards a four-part peace plan. And of course, he was heavily criticized for doing so. But it looks like this plan is probably going to be going forward. It looks like they will probably be doing what Elon Musk proposed. What was that? On last year? Sorry, it wasn't a few months ago. This was October 3rd, 2022. Elon Musk talked about the Ukraine-Russian peace, about what could be done to end this conflict. And essentially, after going after his 4 points, said specifically on October 3rd, quote, "This is highly likely to be the outcome in the end. Just the question of how many die before then." And a lot of people have died. A lot of people have lost their lives. A lot of people are just being thrown into the mix along with mercenaries. People don't even understand. There's so many other countries involved in this conflict already, and the likelihood of any kind of peace deal, especially now with Russia investing so much into it, especially with their war machine activated now, especially with them mobilizing more and more troops on the Ukrainian border, there's the likelihood of peace probably is not likely, as the Russians are now going to be the ones probably saying, no, we're not going to be sitting at the table anymore. We wanted to sit at the table. We wanted peace deals. We wanted negotiations. Those are the exact words of Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia. But now strategically, why should they?
Yeah, they have all the chips on their side of the table. They get to, they're basically the big fish at the table. They get to negotiate from a position of strength.
And this is so infuriating because, you saw the writing on the wall. There's so many more Russians compared to Ukrainians. How could Ukraine ever win this war when they have so little people? They're already using Colombians. They're using Filipinos. They're using mercenaries from all over the world coming in there fighting. Now some of those mercenaries, by the way, going to Israel.
Some of them are in Gaza right now fighting.
Yeah. There's documented cases of mercenaries that were hired. Also, very right-wing individuals fighting on the side of Israel. We're living in a very complex, confusing world, to say the least. And it's just mind-boggling to see, a country the country that I was born in, that neighbors it, be put in such a horrible situation because on one hand, you have perpetual conflict that probably won't be ending anytime soon. And then if it does, you have BlackRock, you have Goldman Sachs already with the contracts to, quote, rebuild, and Volodymyr Zelensky saying that he's going to replace the local population with immigration. Yeah. So it's a lose-lose for everyone there, because a lot of the rich families in Ukraine, a lot of the bureaucrats, a lot of the politicians' families, their sons and daughters don't have to fight.
Right.
It's usually the poor people who have been screwed over in Russia and in Ukraine who are fighting the larger battles over governments who, of course, just want to tax and take away everything from the local populations.
And to demonstrate how desperate Zelensky is, he's reaching out to a guy who's not the president of the United States, going, "Yeah, if you can settle this, that sounds good to me." He knows that his time, like his clock, is ticking very loudly, and not in terms of like reproduction. He's in a lot of trouble here, and it's sad because I kind of have sympathy for him in a weird way, because he listened to the West. He listened to the Tony Blinkens and the Boris Johnsons of the world when they said, "Look, you can't win this war as long as NATO has your back fully, and we're going to arm you to the end of the earth. There's no way you lose." Well, they lied to him. And he bought it. So I don't have a ton of sympathy because he's an idiot and he got duped. But at the same time, like, yeah, he was sold a bad bill of goods. As soon as Hamas attacked Israel, the funding was withdrawn from Zelensky, and it was gonna be withdrawn regardless. But it just expedited that process, and now this guy is just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, Mike Cernovich had a very interesting comment, essentially saying that it was Zelensky who had his life kind of threatened, who was in a situation where he knew he better follow the orders of the Western world, of the United States, of the CIA, of the State Department, or else they would have ousted him and sacrificed him and his loved ones.
Well, and he was also being threatened on the other end from the Azov battalion. Zelensky's a Jewish man being threatened by the Azov battalion, his like elite special forces battalion. So his life is tough. I'll say that. But at the same time, can I have that much sympathy as you go around collecting Academy Awards and all this nonsense? Like, he's such a clown, but he's also being threatened by a lot of people. So I don't know where I fall.
And Ariel, I know you don't talk about a lot about the latest geopolitical news, but what's kind of your reaction to this? Just looking from the outside in, when it comes to the financing, the bankrolling of this conflict that is leaving Ukraine in a very bad situation.
I like I said, like you said for me, I don't comment on. I don't want to comment on things that I'm not knowledgeable on. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to pretend I'm knowledgeable, but I will say.
I think you're the only person I've ever met who doesn't comment on things that they're not knowledgeable on.
Really?
Very few people do that. Very few. Everyone's like, I'm an expert here. I know.
No, I'm not. If I'm not, I'm not. No, I'm not going to. I don't want to get more filth into the world. I will say that none of this happened when Trump was president. I'll just say that. And it doesn't mean I'm a complete Trump supporter. It just says that when you have weak representation, SHIT hits the fan.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, and this is, and I'll say this too, because this has nothing to do with the conflict necessarily, but in response to it, a lot of my, I'll say a lot, meaning like 5, but to me, that's a lot. 5 of my friends that I kind of lost touch with over the years because they stayed on the far left or whatever, who are Jewish or who are Russian, Ukrainian, whatever. A lot of them have switched sides because a lot of Russians don't want this to happen. They don't want to see people go to war. And so I've been getting interesting DMs the last few weeks. I will say that I'll say that.
Yeah,
I've been getting interesting DMs.
The situation in the Middle East definitely has made the situation a little bit more complex, as even hardcore right-wing mercenaries are now who were fighting on the side of Ukraine are now fighting inside of Israel, as Vladimir Putin is making very strong statements in support of Palestine in a country that's becoming more and more Muslim. So we're going to talk about the Middle East. We're going to talk about the frogs. We're going to talk about atrazine. We're going to talk about what biological chemical changes are happening to people. We're going to be talking about the nutcrackers, not the Christmas ones. I got some very pointed questions for Ariel when it comes to going and moving on to Rumble that I want to talk about. She has also a lot of experience talking about the nutcracker. Again, we're on YouTube. We're still on YouTube. I don't know
what you're talking about, but I know. I don't know, but I know. You know what I mean?
The kind of, the.
I got you.
Not the fun scissors, the bad scissors.
I got you. Yeah. Okay.
We will be fun scissoring over on Rumble. Tune in.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
What's happening
Just
over
stop.
here?
We're gonna be talking about that on Rumble.
I do appreciate that you got this. That you could put a scissoring joke in there for me.
Yeah, I had to.
Appreciate that.
I couldn't stop it. Ian Crossland gave a super chat. Shouts out to Ian. He actually
Ian!
escaped the guest room. He was supposed to be here forever.
We miss you, buddy.
And
Come back to Florida.
he gave a super chat saying Ariel is direct and magnificent.
I love him. Tell him I miss him.
I will give you some money to tell you that. Ian, thank you so
He's the
much.
best. He's so cute.
He's great.
He called him staying here. What did he say exactly? What was it? A transformational
Oh, he called it a
experience?
Spirit Quest.
A spirit
A
quest.
spirit quest.
Which makes sense.
That's something he would say.
And
yeah.
he didn't do half of the stuff that I recommended. He did like a half of the stuff that I recommended. Next time, Ian,
Okay.
cold plunge, more gym, more beach, more
More beach,
working
yes.
out.
Vitamin D.
Exactly. So we're gonna get into that just really quick before we transition. We're gonna be leaving literally, and we're gonna be talking about that too on Rumble before we scissor out of here and transition.
Good transition.
We're going to transition to Rumble.
Give me just really quick. Where can people find you? Because we're leaving YouTube.
YouTube.com/Ariel, ARIELLE.
YouTube, Liberty Lockdown, and at Liberty Lock Pod on X. And Tower Gang's the other comedy show I do. So check out Liberty Lockdown and Tower Gang. Thank you.
Yep. And then make sure, Steph, really quick.
At Steph We Are Change, Instagram, at Steph We Are Change, X.
So yeah, just go to Rumble, and we are on the front page, the first recommended video on Rumble. We don't even have to send you the link. Just go to rumble.com, front page, first video, click right here, and we have a picture of Ron Paul saying it's happening with based Mrs. T, destroying the woke mind virus here being described here. So again, if you are on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, just go to rumble.com, front page, and make sure to support other alternative platforms that actually allow free speech. We cannot thank Rumble enough. We have officially partnered with them. We are officially working with them, and I can't describe a better company in our current political sphere right now that is fighting for free speech. I know it might be a little bit inconvenient to get your fat fingers and to go to rumble.com right now, but you need to. It is imperative. It is absolutely important that we make the transition from larger, globalistic, non-caring, woke, ESG, blue-haired, flip-flop wearing, Starbucks dripping, yuppie companies that want to censor us every single day, that we go to Rumble. Rumble.com. That's it, folks. It's that easy. It's that simple.
You want to tell them who we were
Get
having on
there.
Friday?
Friday, we're gonna. We should keep it on the DL.
All right.
We should keep it. We got some big guests coming up. I have one person that we can't even be on YouTube for. So next. We have a nice guest Tuesday. I'm working with another guest that just DM'd me right now that is very spicy, very controversial, canceled everywhere. We probably won't be able to do this show on YouTube for the first hour with this guest who also had his YouTube channel taken down, by the way.
It's Donald Trump.
No. Trump was allowed on YouTube. But there's another guest coming on that I just DM'd me right now. That's in the Miami area that just had his YouTube channel taken down. We won't be able to have him on YouTube. We're going to have him on rumble.com. Again,